Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to tackle, a question today. One that you've probably not thought much about. Does height really matter when it comes to leadership?
Oh, that's a good one.
You sent us this really intriguing list, 7 leaders throughout history, and they're all considered short for their time.
Yeah.
And we're going to unpack what their stature, might have meant for their journey to power.
It's a fascinating thing to look at because we often just associate leadership with a commanding physical presence.
Right.
But, these individuals, they prove impact can come in all sizes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that perceived disadvantage can even become a source of strength.
I'm really curious about that. So first up is Benito Juarez, often compared to Abraham Lincoln, led Mexico through some incredibly turbulent times in the 1800s.
Right.
It's remarkable to think he achieved all of this while standing, we believe, around 4'6".
Yeah, it's incredible to think how he led Mexico through, such a turbulent period. It's a testament to his resilience and strategic thinking.
Imagine the challenges he faced. Leading a nation through major reforms and even a war, while constantly being underestimated because of his height.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder if that constant need to prove himself fueled his drive and determination. Maybe being underestimated actually helped him in the long run.
That's possible. Maybe it forced him to hone his intellect and his political skills even further, to become a master strategist, a master communicator. Perhaps people were more willing to listen to his ideas because they didn't initially see him as a threat, allowed him to build alliances, consolidate power.
Now that's what I call turning a perceived weakness into an advantage.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift our focus to Empress Dowager Cixi of China, a figure who really challenges our assumptions about women in leadership.
Oh, yeah.
To rule China for nearly 50 years, especially during the late Qing dynasty, a period of immense change. That's impressive by any standard, let alone for someone estimated to be just under 5 feet tall.
She really defied the odds. Cixi was not in line for the throne, but through a series of shrewd maneuvers and political savvy, she consolidated her power and became the de facto ruler of China. It makes you wonder if her height played a role in how she navigated those complex power dynamics.
I'm immediately thinking about the courtly life at the time. Was it easier for her to be underestimated by those vying for power, allowing her to make strategic moves without raising suspicion? Did her physical presence or lack thereof make her seem less threatening, enabling her to build alliances and influence decisions from behind the scenes?
That's a great question. Perhaps her height allowed her to observe and assess situations more discreetly, gathering information, building alliances, while others were focused on the more obvious power players.
Speaking of defying expectations, Napoleon Bonaparte is next on our list, and his height is still debated today. But what's undeniable is his outsized impact on Europe.
Absolutely. He was a military genius who conquered much of the continent. Now, some might say Napoleon overcompensated for his height with his ambition, and thirst for power. But his strategic brilliance and charisma captivated France. It's like his actions forced people to look beyond his stature.
Yeah. It's like he turned the stereotype on its head. Instead of the tall, imposing general leading the charge, you have this shorter, energetic figure strategizing and outmaneuvering his opponents, becoming an almost mythical figure in the process.
Right. And that myth-making was crucial to his success.
Yeah.
He understood the power of image and propaganda. His portraits often depicted him as taller and more imposing than he actually was.
Right.
He even commissioned paintings of himself on horseback, looking down at his defeated enemies. It was a way of projecting strength and authority despite his physical stature.
Clever. He recognized that perception is often reality, especially when it comes to leadership. All right, our next short leader brings us to Queen Victoria. Everyone's heard of the Victorian era, a time of immense change, much like the world you're living in right now. It's incredible to think that this 5-foot-tall queen reigned for over 6 decades, navigating those changes while leading Britain through a period of rapid industrialization and expansion.
And she wasn't just a figurehead. Victoria was deeply involved in the affairs of state, wielding considerable influence over government policy. It's fascinating to think about how she commanded respect and maintained stability during such a tumultuous period, despite not fitting the mold of a typical powerful monarch.
Maybe it was precisely because she didn't fit that mold that she was so successful. Perhaps her height made her more approachable, more relatable to the common people. It's like she became a symbol of stability and continuity during a time of great upheaval.
Yeah, and don't forget the symbolism of the Victorian era. She represented morality, family values, which resonated with the anxieties of the time. And her height, contrasted with the growing empire, may have even reinforced this image of a steadfast leader guiding her nation through turbulent waters.
It's amazing how her stature may have actually worked in her favor, shaping public perception in a way that benefited both her and the monarchy.
Yeah. It challenges us to consider how physical attributes can be both assets and liabilities depending on the context. What might be seen as a disadvantage in one situation could be an advantage in another. It's all about how you leverage those attributes to your advantage.
You know, we've been talking about leaders who defied expectations, and it really makes you think about the qualities that allow someone to overcome those perceived limitations. So far, we've explored how being short might have actually helped these leaders develop certain skills or navigate complex situations. But what about Yasser Arafat? His story takes us into the heart of one of the world's most enduring conflicts, the Israeli-Palestinian struggle.
Yeah, Arafat's a towering figure in the Palestinian liberation movement.
Yeah.
Advocating for self-determination on a global stage,
Right.
standing at around 5'4". He became a symbol of resilience and resistance. His height, or lack thereof, never seemed to diminish his presence. Instead, he commanded attention through his words, his unwavering commitment to the cause, and his ability to connect with people on an emotional level.
It's interesting to think about how different types of leadership emerge in different contexts. For someone like Arafat operating within a movement for national liberation, his ability to rally people, to embody their hopes and aspirations, was probably just as important as any strategic or political maneuvering.
Absolutely. His leadership was about mobilizing a people, inspiring them to keep fighting for their rights and their homeland. Even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, he understood the power of symbolism. The keffiyeh he wore becoming an iconic representation of Palestinian identity and resistance.
It's a reminder that leadership isn't always about holding a formal office or commanding an army. It can also be about giving voice to the voiceless, about channeling the collective will of a people striving for freedom and justice.
Precisely. Arafat's story highlights how leadership can emerge from the grassroots, from a deep understanding of the needs and aspirations of a community. It's about connecting with people on a personal level, inspiring them to believe in a shared vision, and mobilizing them to take action.
Now, from the complexities of the Middle East, let's shift our focus to a figure who continues to spark debate and controversy, Vladimir Lenin.
Oh, yeah.
He led the Bolsheviks in the Russian Revolution, ultimately shaping a new world order in the 20th century. And he did all of this while standing at about 5'5". I'm curious, how did his height, or perhaps the perception of his height, play into the dynamics of power during such a tumultuous period?
Well, Lenin was a master strategist and a powerful orator who understood how to harness the discontent and unrest brewing in Russia in the early 20th century. While his height wasn't a defining characteristic, it's intriguing to consider how it might have influenced his interactions, especially with, well, the towering figures of the Tsarist regime he sought to overthrow.
You know, I'm thinking about the visual contrast, especially in a society that placed a high value on physical stature. The image of this relatively shorter figure leading a revolution against the established order, it's almost David versus Goliath, isn't it?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's possible that Lenin's stature juxtaposed against the perceived grandeur of the Tsarist regime actually worked to his advantage. It might have made him seem more approachable to the common people, more relatable to their struggles. It's like he embodied the idea that even someone who doesn't fit the traditional mold of power can rise up and challenge the status quo.
And that idea that anyone can be a leader regardless of their physical attributes, that's a powerful message, especially in the context of a revolution.
Absolutely. Lenin's success wasn't just about his ideas or his political maneuvering. It was also about his ability to connect with the masses, to inspire them to believe in the possibility of a different future.
Finally, let's talk about Indira Gandhi, India's first female prime minister who at 5'5" navigated a male-dominated political landscape. With incredible tenacity, she became a symbol of strength and resilience, guiding India through some of its most challenging moments. It's amazing to think that she shattered so many glass ceilings during a time when women were often relegated to the sidelines of power.
Imagine the societal pressures she faced, the constant scrutiny and expectations placed upon her as a woman in a position of authority. It's likely that her height, or rather how it was perceived in relation to the men around her, added another layer of complexity to her leadership journey.
You're absolutely right. In a culture where height was often associated with masculinity and authority, her stature might have been seen as a disadvantage. It makes you wonder if she had to work even harder, to be even more assertive, and strategic to command respect and demonstrate her leadership abilities.
Yeah, and she did just that. Gandhi was known for her sharp intellect, her unwavering determination, and her willingness to make tough decisions. She didn't shy away from challenges. She confronted them head-on.
Her leadership style was definitely different from her father's Jawaharlal Nehru, who was India's first prime minister. While Nehru was known for his charisma and his ability to inspire, Gandhi was more pragmatic, more focused on getting things done.
It's fascinating how she carved her own path, creating a leadership style that was both effective and authentic to her personality. And while her height may have played a role in how she was perceived, she ultimately transcended those limitations through her actions, her decisions, and her unwavering commitment to serving India.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I think it's clear that these leaders, despite their varying backgrounds and challenges, shared a remarkable ability to leverage their perceived limitations to their advantage. We've journeyed across continents and centuries, exploring the lives of these remarkable leaders. And I'm struck by how their stories challenge our assumptions about what it means to be powerful. Each of them, in their own way, defied the notion that physical stature dictates influence.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that leadership is multifaceted. We've seen how these individuals use their intellect, charisma, resilience, and strategic thinking to overcome obstacles and leave a lasting impact on the world.
It makes you wonder, what are the through lines, the common threads that connect these diverse figures? If height wasn't the defining factor in their success, what was it?
Well, one key takeaway is the importance of adaptability. These leaders navigated complex and ever-changing landscapes, from the courtly intrigues of imperial China to the battlefields of Napoleonic Europe to the social and political upheavals of the 20th century.
They had to be agile, able to adjust their strategies and their approaches to meet new challenges and seize opportunities. It's like they possessed a sixth sense for reading the room, understanding the dynamics at play, and making calculated moves to advance their goals.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about reacting to events, it was about anticipating them, thinking several steps ahead, and positioning themselves to capitalize on the shifting tides of history.
It's fascinating to consider how their height might have influenced their ability to adapt. Perhaps being underestimated allowed them to observe situations more discreetly, to gather information and build alliances while others were focused on the more obvious power players.
Yeah, that's a really insightful point. It's possible that their stature, or rather, how it was perceived in relation to those around them, gave them a unique vantage point, allowing them to see things that others missed.
It's like they turned their perceived disadvantage into an asset, using it to their advantage in the game of power and influence.
Exactly. And let's not forget the importance of self-belief. These leaders had an unwavering conviction in their abilities, even when others doubted them. They didn't let their stature limit their aspirations or their determination to achieve their goals.
They had this inner fire, this unshakable belief in their vision and their ability to make a difference. And that self-belief was contagious, inspiring others to follow their lead and join their cause.
It's like they projected an aura of confidence and capability that transcended their physical appearance. People were drawn to their energy, their passion, their unwavering commitment to their ideals.
So maybe it's not just about believing in yourself, but also about inspiring that belief in others, making people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, that they can contribute to something meaningful.
Exactly. These leaders were masters of communication, able to articulate a compelling vision, connect with people on an emotional level, and mobilize them to action. They understood that true leadership is about empowering others, not just about wielding power yourself.
It's about creating a shared sense of purpose, fostering a culture of collaboration and innovation, and inspiring people to reach their full potential.
And let's not overlook the importance of resilience. These leaders faced incredible challenges. Wars, revolutions, political turmoil, personal setbacks, and yet they persevered. They didn't let obstacles break them. They used them as opportunities to learn, adapt, and come back even stronger.
They faced adversity head-on and used it to fuel their determination. It's like they understood that setbacks are inevitable, but it's how you respond to those setbacks that defines you as a leader.
They possessed a remarkable ability to bounce back from adversity, to learn from their mistakes, and to keep moving forward even when the path ahead seemed uncertain.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the lives of these fascinating figures, I think it's clear that their stature, while noteworthy, was ultimately overshadowed by their character, their intellect, and their unwavering commitment to their goals.
They defied expectations, challenged norms, and left an enduring legacy on the world. Their stories remind us that true leadership is not about physical attributes, but about vision, resilience, the ability to inspire, and the courage to make a difference.
And that's a powerful message for all of us. No matter our height or our circumstances, it's a reminder that we all have the potential to lead, to make a positive impact on the world, and to leave behind a legacy that extends far beyond ourselves.
So go out there, embrace your unique strengths, challenge your limitations, and never underestimate the power you hold within yourself to shape the future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and remember, true leadership comes in all shapes and sizes.